All right, ladies and gentlemen, next up, Anna Johnson, Vice President of Marketing and Commercial Strategy with United States Cold Storage.
So let's get started. Marc, I'm going to pick on you. You talked a little bit about scorecarding, but I'm curious, what KPIs, like key performance indicators, do you use to measure a carrier to see if they're successful?
Yeah, I think a lot of it comes down to the relationship with the carriers. You know, it's more than just the overall KPI, like the on-time performance, the tender acceptance. On a higher level is really kind of making sure that the communication's there. So we can scorecard and we can manage the overall numbers for everybody and kind of make sure that everything's kind of staying in check. But it really comes down to the communication and the overall aspect of the relationships.
Well, how can you tell if a carrier has potential to be successful?
I think any carrier can be successful. It's just a matter of really kind of getting things started off. I think our carrier engagement initiative has really kind of helped to launch the opportunity to start carriers in working with our operations teams and kind of getting them off on the right foot. So when we do bring on new partners, it's about making sure that we're setting them up for success and making sure that we're giving them the opportunities to be a great partner.
And this question actually is for Alec. So how do you best communicate with the carrier to make sure that they're being a successful partner, or that they to ensure smooth scheduling, especially during peak season?
Really, it's all about transparency. We kind of echo pretty much what our customers, convey to us when our KPIs, our QBRs. They really, as the old saying goes, bad news doesn't get better with time. We understand logistics, things happen, but as long as we're able to get ahead of the curve and convey that message to our customers, it's better that news comes from us as opposed to their buyers or their customers. So it shows that we're on top of our game, and that's what we try to express to our carrier partners. From
the carrier perspective, do you guys, do you see a difference in how we communicate with you versus other partners?
Not in particularly. I think transparency is key here, and communication is key, no matter what customer you may be dealing with. Like Alec said, you guys understand logistics, and it's not a perfect world, especially with what we do. Stuff comes up, and I think communication is key. As long as everyone's aware, most people are willing to work with you.
Okay. What about you? What about you guys?
I think USC's always been great with giving us feedback and being a partner, and when issues do arise or KPIs are dipping or OTBIT scores aren't where they should be, I think they've always been quick to pick up the phone or shoot us an email or schedule a touch point and address the issue right then and there.
Yeah, I think communication is above and beyond with US Cold, as far as usually when things go wrong, you don't see that line anymore, but now it's we're communicating once a month. How can we fix this? How can we make it better? And really improve it each month, hopefully.
And then in terms of we ask a lot of our carrier partners, are there specific technologies that you guys use when you to help you manage the partnership?
From a technology standpoint, our integration with 4Kites has been huge for our success with United States Cold Storage and ensuring our carriers are compliant with tech tracking. We know how important it is for USC to relay real-time feedback to their customers, so they need us as carrier partners to be providing that information to them. From other technology standpoints, carrier onboarding is huge for us. We want to ensure we're putting the right carriers on the freight for USC from a broker perspective. And then just manual stuff we do on a day-to-day to ensure the partnership's staying intact is, like we just talked about, reviewing KPIs, OTBIT scores, and then just constant communication.
Yeah, I would agree with that too. Really quick, it's 4Kites when it first started. I'd agree with Mike when he was I was really worried about when it first started, but now having it working right and working with the team to get it to work right, all of our ELDs are being transformed into our system, and then our times are going from 4Kites into your system, so it's just transparency.
So this is a question for Wendy. What's the most common challenge you face in managing your carrier partners?
I think I can speak from a billing perspective, and it's been a challenge for kind of a long time, but it's around having the paperwork back to us quickly and timely. We're looking for all of the PODs to be signed, organized, all the lumper receipts. One of the goals of the billing group is to be able to turn around carrier payment quickly. And so having all that paperwork in order is going to help them achieve that goal. So it's kind of an ongoing thing. I know it can be a challenge sometimes to get all of that, but it's really important for the drivers to make sure that they have all that paperwork intact and sent over to us so that, you know, we can proceed with approvals and carrier payment as quickly as possible.
What do you guys see as the biggest challenge from a carrier perspective?
I think that sometimes OS&D can be a little tricky, especially if it's after hours. You know, what if there's overages? What are we supposed to do with this product? Do we need to return it to a U.S. Cold facility, or are we getting rid of the product, or what are we supposed to do?
Is the same for you guys?
I would say overall with OS&D issues, like the best way to handle them is just quickness, which we know a lot of the time with USC specifically, they're kind of at the grace of their vendors. So the quicker we can get the product off the trailer and back into the warehouse, the better it is for us, our carrier partners, USC, and then most importantly, USC's customers.
So this question is from Marc. How can a carrier help to optimize your dock scheduling and minimize the time the trucks spend in our facilities?
Working closely with the warehouse is key. I mean, it's great that we are the shipper, but we're also the partner carrier in this. You know, we have a vested interest in making sure that those trucks are out of the docks and on the road, and you know, working closely with our groups. You know, we help to work very closely on scheduling pickups for outbounds, and we've even helped out with inbound deliveries and things like that. Just being able to work with the partners that we have at the warehouse has been huge for our ability to help support the carrier base.
And then from a carrier perspective, I mean, what can we do to make sure that your trucks get turned quickly?
We've now started providing some drop trailers, which is, I mean, we're at the mercy of labor and stuff like that, but I mean, the idea of preloading a trailer and being able to pick it up is gonna be a lot smoother. Always now trying to also, when we get a load, we get a printout of the load with the pickup numbers and all the POs. So I'm now taking a screenshot of that and sending it to each driver, just because you don't wanna get to the checkout or the check-in window and you don't have the right confirmation number, and now you're just sitting there for POs. So yeah, just trying to make sure that we're giving the driver everything that's sent over to us to speed up the process.
Also, I think that helps with fraud, correct?
Yeah, 100%.
Because at least you know that you validated a PO, you're sending it to somebody, we have that so that we're able to check them in quickly. What about the rest of you guys? What do you think about?
I think there's a lot as carriers we can do to make sure our drivers are getting in and out of facilities quickly, you know, making sure they have the correct pickup numbers, making sure they're on time. From an actual warehouse perspective, simple things like making sure it's clear where the drivers need to go to check in, check out, having paperwork printed and ready to go by the time they're leaving. This isn't so much from a shipper aspect, but if there are lumpers, giving the driver an advance notice of how much that lumper is going to be, so they can get their comm checks written or their T checks ready to go, so they can get that and get out of there. That can hold up so much time.
Yeah, Marc?
Yeah, I think the other thing that you know, we've kind of talked a little bit about earlier was really Vector as well. You know, utilizing the technology and getting that information out there, and really improving on the U.S. Cold side. You know, we've launched Vector at a number of sites right now, and that's really kind of helping out. But I think as more of the sites with welcome centers and the fast pass lanes come online, I think that's really going to help a lot of the carriers kind of get where they need to quick. And to Jordan's point, you know, getting to the right door rather than coming in and sitting in the yard and waiting, knowing exactly where that driver's going to go. Talking to a U.S. Cold employee at that time, I think that's really going to help kind of speed up that process as well.
Right, and I think we're even doing some branding around that fast pass lane, so that way carriers know exactly where to go. So if you're not a Vector carrier, you're gonna have to wait in the other lane, but sometimes they'll end up going in the fast pass lane, and it gets kind of congested and tangled up there. So I think we're gonna do some branding around that too. So stay tuned for that. So in a world where, like we talked about links and how everybody wants visibility and FourKites to where the product is at any moment. How are you guys pushing the adoption of using FourKites and tools like FourKites?
Well, we've integrated FourKites into our TMS system as well as our ELD system, so they're kind of all linked together now. So it kind of takes the driver aspect out of it, and it's all set up with geofences. So when a driver or a truck arrives to a delivery, it automatically enters in and out times.
So was that something that you did because United States Cold Storage was using ForKites, or is that something else that you did outside of that?
Mostly for U.S. Cold, but it's kind of the way of the world. You know, some
Okay.
of our other customers have requested the same things, and just the way that transportation's moving as a whole.
Okay, it made sense. What about you guys?
Yeah, we use ForKites with various customers across the board, and with that, we've been integrated with ForKites for a few years now, and we're able to compare data and analyze data across all of the customers we utilize it with, and then share feedback to our customers, and also keep some of that data internally. We're constantly looking at our KPIs and making sure our tracked percentage and super tracked percentage is meeting up to our customer requirements. And as a carrier too, it's super important for us to recognize when there are issues with ForKites and reaching out directly to ForKites to try to get those issues fixed. We're not good carrier partners. If we're seeing issues occur, then we're just not relaying them to USC. That doesn't do anything for anyone. So we've worked pretty closely with ForKites, especially at the beginning when there were kinks to be straightened out.
And I was going to say too, like we are integrated through our ELDs too, but we're constantly checking the ForKites website too, just because you can get an overview of everything. Like every driver should be tracking. It gives you an ETA where they're going to, and kind of like she's saying, if it doesn't look right, we're not just going to ignore it. We've got to figure out what the problem is. Is there a problem with the ELDs? Do we have to get them to sign up on the ForKites app, or like how do we get tracking on this load? But yeah, that's trying to get the drivers to understand it too.
So, Wendy, how do you think about AI, and like how are you guys using it to help improve efficiency within the operations?
The big thing for us has been digital agents and automating processes. So it's been really cool actually to see processes be automated as far as like scheduling, delivery, status tracking. Also, we were talking about paperwork, but getting PODs uploaded into customer systems. So I think the whole automation aspect has tremendous benefits to really free up time to focus on more strategic things within the group.
From a carrier perspective, are you guys looking at AI?
There's a place for it, I think. I mean, I definitely think that there's a spot for it. Like we're looking at getting a system where AI will put in our loads. Once we get a load, you can drop it into AI and it'll build the load. But as far as like making decisions, you know, AI might give some suggestions, but we're always making the last call on that.
We're utilizing AI currently. We've been, kind of tinkering around with it for some years now, but on our Connect suite, we have route optimization, dedicated lane opportunities, a lot of platforms there with our customers and carriers to use. I think AI is going to, kind of as Wendy alluded to, eliminate some of the mundane tasks we're dealing with on a day-to-day basis. There's so much that can still be automated out there, and again, we don't want to take away headcount. We want these people and operators to be focusing their time on growing partnerships, being at events like this with our customers that we really value partnerships with. So taking away some of the mundane stuff, I think, is a huge efficiency gain for it.
Yeah, I think we use AI a little bit in our ELD system already with some of our safety stuff. It'll be interesting to see where it goes in the next 5 years.
Yeah. Alec, I don't know if you guys use it, do you?
We're exploring it. We're currently using an optimizer, which is smart move, and eventually it should be learning as we're routing trucks and things like that. So yeah, we're venturing slowly but surely into that realm. So we have a few things coming up here in the next probably in a year or so.
So I think we talked a little bit, RXO was talking about the licenses and how it's kind of the driver's hands are changing. And so I'm curious, like in terms of driver retention, are you guys doing anything specific in terms of pay, benefit, work-life balance to retain your people?
Yeah, I think that's a never-ending HR issue, From our company standpoint, we offer competitive pay and a full benefits package, including insurance and a 401k contribution and some paid time off throughout the year. And those things really go a long way. So,
are you guys doing anything creative?
Yeah, we run all owner-operators, so our thing is kind of we give the driver the decision of what he wants to do or not want to do. Nobody has to do anything. It's your truck, you're working it. Once you pay the truck off, it's an asset to you, and you can either put that in to get another truck. So it's really kind of beneficial to the driver to work and stay. You can walk away anytime, but I mean, you're working to pay that truck off. So it's just like, yeah, we've kind of just really, I mean, like he said, we're always trying to figure out a way to keep drivers, but the owner-operator aspect for us is really beneficial. And then also, we're trying to get more direct-to-direct shipments, kind of like customer-to-customer, and building those lanes out too, so we're not taking as much market freight that's just so volatile.
As a broker, we can't offer, great benefits to our carrier partners, but we do programs with like discounted fuel that we can offer some of our carriers that has helped a lot. And then just feeding them business, especially in a market like this. We're always trying to find backhauls for our carriers.
Okay, great. And then I guess I'm going to ask all of you guys if you can give me one word that basically describes the characteristic of a successful partner for U.S. Cold. So I'm just going to go, I won't give you time to think about it. Alec. Just go down the row and just give me one word that you would say would define like a successful partner.
I would say integrity.
Okay.
Communication.
Yep. Proactive.
Transparency.
I would say creative.
Wow. Why'd you let you let the U.S. Cold people go first? That's not fair.
I would actually say proactive also.
I was going to say communication. Yeah, I think that's key. So.
Okay, great. Well, you know what? It sounds like we're all basically on the same page. That's awesome. So now it is crystal ball time. And I'm going to ask you guys, so looking ahead in 5 years, what do you see as your biggest opportunity? So this is for the carriers. Oh, that could be for you too, Marc, if you want to chime in. Okay. Yeah. What's your biggest opportunity?
I think, so what we're seeing right now is we're seeing a lot of customers, like I mentioned, get really creative and want to get creative and looking towards other solutions, whether that be warehousing, trailer opportunities, intermodal, fleet, cargo. Those are areas we're really expanding in and areas that I've seen huge growth in at RXO. And so as carrier partners, coming up with creative solutions to provide to the customers, and I think that's a big opportunity for us currently and in years to come.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see maybe how AI can improve our efficiencies or bring our cost per mile down. Yeah, just efficiencies.
I'm right there with you. I mean, it's. I don't have a crystal ball, but yeah, hopefully AI is going to solve some time where we can spend time in other places to be better problem solvers, because we never know what's going to come every day, but to be able to have the time to be able to think and put a good solution to it is huge.
Okay. What about from the U.S. Cold side? Any opportunities that you see?
I'll go first. I guess I think the AI piece is going to be huge. I think that we're at a point where, as a society, it's become, you can't buy a phone without an AI agent at your beck and call. So I think as that technology comes online and continues to grow, just like Wendy and Alec had mentioned, some of the technology is going to be huge for us to help us schedule appointments, to help take away some of those tasks, like Jordan said, that are just kind of repetitive. But
sounds like OS&D after hours is a good opportunity.
Always a good opportunity.
Y'all should have written that down somewhere. Okay, so so I guess crystal ball again. So we talked about opportunities. What are some of the challenges you're facing? Or what could be some of the challenges you're facing?
In the next 5 years?
Yeah.
Or?
AI.
Yeah, I was going to say it could be like
it's a blessing and a curse.
Yeah.
It could be like a huge learning curve too. And I mean, we still got trucks. We got 200 trucks that are moving every day, and to take time to try to learn something that's so new to all of us, it's going to be a curve, right? So that's also a great thing, but could also kind of be a bad thing.
Yeah, I think with AI too, and just kind of how I spoke to with different, innovative opportunities to provide to customers. Biggest threat is just other people figuring it out before we do, and being able to provide those kind of fixed solutions before we're in like the ball game with it.
Okay, I guess you're going to echo those challenges too then. Then just in general, I mean, what do you guys think, or how do you think about like this carrier conference and what we're trying to do and, kind of building the relationships with carrier partners? Are we the best carrier partner you have, or are there other things that we should be doing that we haven't thought about that we need to address?
Well, thanks for putting us on the spot.
Yeah.
No,
Happy to help.
No.
we love US Cold. And I think conferences like this are very important to put a name to the face that you see on an email on a daily basis. You don't always get the opportunity to see those people face to face. And I think those interactions still go a long way.
I think USC has always done a great job with accepting feedback and really wanting feedback and being curious. I've made comments before internally, like some of the USC planners I deal with are some of the most curious people I've ever met, and I think that's why they are so successful in what they do. They really care about their vendors, they care about their customers. Even if we're doing something wrong, they're coming to us from a point of, why are you doing this wrong and what is causing it and how can we fix it? It's definitely been a partnership. So I think, Marc kind of spoke to this earlier, but being face-to-face with people and talking through issues and being comfortable with calling people and emailing people and talking through issues and, I'm going to say it again, but getting creative on solutions.
Yeah, US Cold Storage is my best customer, and I take them very serious as far as like, we're just trying to grow. I know a few years ago we were just out of the West Coast, and now we're doing Texas and Midwest, and that's just by coming to these and learning what you guys have. And Gulick, you guys are out in the Northeast, can you help us out with this? So it's just stuff that we never even knew about, but to grow those relationships that we already have, and be able to offer more of what we have that you guys just maybe didn't know we had. So these conferences have been a really, really good thing.
These types of venues really, this is the only chance we actually might have to be face-to-face with some of these carriers that we deal with on a daily basis. So not only just putting names with faces, but just having some interaction, building that relationship, that trust, that partnership. I think this is very beneficial, and I'm sure a lot of our carrier partners would agree.
Okay. Now it's your turn to ask questions. So Mike has a microphone, or he'll just ask all the questions like he did in the RXO presentation. I mean, it could go either way. If you guys have a question, raise your hands.
We definitely have some questions, but if you have
burning questions, yeah.
If you have one, raise your hand. We have one right here.
With the next bid being a targeted bid, what can a carrier do to gain new opportunity?
Yeah, I think as we look at the targeted bid, it's going to be real clear on where the incumbencies are and what we're doing to partner with guys that are in this room on where we can be in the future and how we can take that to the next step. So I think as we talked about partnership and communication, knowing where people want to go, knowing what carriers. I think you guys are in a kind of a unique situation, being able to handle everything. But not everybody in this room can do nationwide coverage. There's a lot of very regional partners in here, and understanding where everybody wants to go and understanding what their capabilities are really help us with that, with being able to select the right carriers for the right piece.
Thank you. There was another one up here.
So my question is, when you're held up at a shipper, which your trailer door's open for 8 hours, and your load goes out of temp, how can you fight that claim off? Technically not the carrier's fault.
Who's that?
I think that's for you,
It's a
Anna.
loaded question.
That's why I'm just hosting.
Speak to that. I think communication and documentation is really critical. Mm-hmm. Photographs of like the temperature on the units, any kind of documentation, and the drivers should try to request to get photographs and information from the consignees as well. But all of that's really going to help with that case if it does become a claim or an issue down the road. So I think upfront communication and documentation is really critical.
Temp downloads are key.
Yeah, temp downloads are key, as well as ForKites. That's where ForKites can really help out with showing that the driver was on site. Those and really kind of getting those to match up with the temp downloads and what's going on.
And to follow up on that, Wendy, do you mind kind of speaking to our new claims department and the different structure that we have to do that now?
Sure. Yeah. So Ricky Sigmund, I don't know how many of you have worked with him, but he's our national claims specialist, and so regionally you're working with the operations groups on OS&Ds, but if it does escalate and become a claim, then Ricky steps in, and he's really knowledgeable. He's very, very organized and very fair. So he's our primary point of contact at that point. And yeah, I mean, he's like I said, he's done a great job. He used to handle OS&Ds just in the Northeast region, but he's recently taken over the whole country. So he's the primary contact now.
And he's probably had the most success pushing back on our customers to be able to win a claim like that, or to be able to, with the right documentation, deny that claim. So it's a weird world that we live in the 3PL world, where we're between you guys and our customers. So it's a very finesse process to make sure that we're not making them upset, but figuring out what the root cause was of that claim. So that was a good question.
Yeah. Can I add on that?
Oh, yeah,
too?
yeah.
Another thing I wanted to mention too, there was a question earlier about kind of turning the trucks, and when we have claim, have rejections and knowing those things. I think one of the things that Ricky's been working on is kind of a dashboard to help us have our customers' information in it, to understand what their cost per pounds are, what their limited liabilities are, and that's really kind of helped us be able to react quickly when there is a claim, to understand what's the value of the product. Do we think it's going to be something that we're going to be able to talk to them about and have them bring back, or do we need to or we have an opportunity to dispose of it and get that driver back on the road? So I think that's another great initiative that's in the works here too. That's what we're rolling out.
Yeah, that definitely addresses the off-hours OS&Ds, that if somebody can answer that and quickly not have to wait for the customer to reply, if we know if it's under a certain threshold of the dollar amount of the value of that product, we should be able to just tell you to toss it. So, all right, I think I saw one over here.
So, carrier partners are really important to us, but ultimately it comes down to the drivers. I mean, last week, U.S. Cold, showed our appreciation to the drivers. Serve food, really just kind of give back to them. But at the end of the day, what's something we, from a U.S. Cold perspective, can do to help these drivers succeed? Because obviously the success of the drivers lead to the success and service our customers expect.
Get us in and out quick.
Yeah.
I know we got drop.
Could have said beside that one. That's an easy answer.
It's just like, I mean, we got drop trailers right now, and it's just like there's not labor to load them. So it's just like, I mean, not that it's your problem, but it's just like it's a problem that we're running into just in the world, right? We need more workers and to be able to load those trucks quicker and get them out.
Did you hear that, Dave? Get those trucks loaded quicker.
I think it's also like collaborative effort to make sure we're setting up the shipments for success for our drivers, knowing certain receivers may take a long time to unload, making sure we're padding that in there and not setting up the driver for a failure on the next stop or the previous stop. So I think just, collaborative effort between the carrier and USC and ensuring the shipments are set up for success.
Yeah, I know something that our drivers really appreciate about going to U.S. Cold facilities in general is the cleanliness, the public restrooms, the vending machines, for the times that you are held up. And like you talked about, Bryan, last week was driver appreciation, and you guys would be surprised how far a hot dog or a hamburger or whatever it may be to a driver in a bottle of water goes a long way.
And Bryan, did you get any feedback from those drivers during Driver Appreciation Week that you can share with us? I don't know if you talked to any of them.
Yeah, no, I did. I had some good conversations with drivers. And, the one thing takeaway is, you see LinkedIn and you see all these people celebrating driver appreciation and all the facilities out there. But, it was a surprise to me the amount of drivers that said, U.S. Cold kind of goes above and beyond. And not everybody, out there is, celebrating this week. So, it was, hard work on our end, but at the end of the day, the drivers are what, make it all happen. So it was good to hear kind of that feedback from them.
I feel like internally it's always known, like, this is Driver Appreciation Week. USC is going to take this very seriously. Yeah. Like, Marc's not going to be at our meeting because he's going to be grilling for the drivers. Like, right. I know that's going to happen. And even when I messaged our coverage floor and I was like, free food at USC if you want to pick up a load on McDonough.
It's almost like a privilege too. I feel like my drivers are excited to go to U.S. Cold Storage. Like, it's like, oh, I got a US cold load, like awesome, you know? So I'm just like, not really that you can change anything, but like what you guys are doing, like my drivers, they appreciate it. So thank you guys for that.
Sure, thank you.
Is there more we can be doing? Like more food or more, I mean, I don't know.
Load
Is
them
there more-
faster, load them faster.
Load them faster.
Yeah. Yeah, time is crucial,
Yeah.
you know.
Sometimes we have to pick up a load and just like make a delivery the next morning. So there's like, and we're on ELD, so it's like when we get held up, that's just like our only thing that we're really struggling with. But yeah, we're working on it.
Perfect. Thank you, guys.
Hello, this is for the carrier half of the panel. Without naming any names, I'm curious with your other customers and partners if you've seen anything from the technology aspect or the automation aspect that maybe you would like to see from us to further adopt that we could, help provide efficiencies and strengthen ourselves in that area.
I think you'd be surprised at how advanced USC is, honestly, with their technology compared to some of the other customers we work with. There are some customers still living in the Stone Age with their technology, so I honestly think USC is right on par. I think you guys look at KPIs, you even have a built-out scorecard. A lot of customers don't even have that. You have EDI capabilities, you route your own trucks, so yeah, I honestly can't think of any enhancements.
And a lot of what we did with you guys, a lot of other customers are following suit. Like the fork heights, we kind of got that integrated with you guys, but then like now it's so much easier when other customers want to track through that because we're already set up, we know how it works. So not really, you guys are ahead of it, and it seems like kind of the industry's following that, to be honest, so.
Ashley Rose, now I have a question. So do we have a mechanism for people to give feedback or suggestions on what we can do to improve using technology?
We don't have like a tool or a platform currently, but that is something that as we start looking into, transferring like our TMS and things of that nature, we may look into something like that to make it easier for you guys to drop in ideas and drop in feedback as time goes on here.
Would that be helpful for you guys?
Yeah.
I mean, would you do it? Or is it just more, hey, we do a quarterly business review and then you make suggestions there? Or would it be helpful to have some sort of mechanism to be able to say, hey, listen, you're holding me up, this is why?
We kind of do that with our rep or something that talks with us. We kind of, if we're getting held up, we're communicating with the regional person that's sending us over that load. So,
Okay.
I mean, yeah, there could be something there, I guess, but I feel like that communication, like I'm talking to my people every day from US Cold and trying to keep in communication so they know what's going on.
Yeah, I think I kind of talked to that a little bit earlier. There's a defined line between the operational challenges that happen on a specific load and being able to talk at a higher level about maybe some integration or things like that we can do. So that's where having our regional groups as well as having the carrier engagement guys on those monthly calls and following up, it really kind of it's intended to be a spark for those conversations. Like, hey, how are we doing? Hey, what's going on? And trying to get that information back out of you guys, because if there is a better way out there, we want to try to figure out how to integrate that. And whether it goes to our operational groups with Bryan and Brittany, or if it's going back to Tiernan or Justin, it'd be really good to have that outlet for everybody to kind of be able to share that.
That sounds like a good opportunity for us on the technology side to, collaborate more with the carrier engagement team and with operations internally and strengthen or, increase our focus in that communication and kind of, funneling that.
I think that's a great idea.
Thanks.
Thank you. Sounds like we need to put one angry carrier up there to get the different point of view. All right, we've got a question here.
We always.
For the U.S. Cold team, we talked a little bit about this yesterday in the advisory board, but the service high KPIs in today's environment are pretty much table stakes, and I'm just curious on your thoughts of, as we how do you really use that information in today's environment to drive decision making on who you're working with, how you're tendering the freight, and then how do you envision that changing as we get into different phases and stages of the market cycle?
Yeah, I think that we we try to measure those KPI and we try to have that out there for benchmarking because, we want to make sure that we can be as reactive as we can when things start to shift. And I think, even with some of the comments up here, there's times where, if you're not looking at it, you're not monitoring it, it can get out of hand. So, that's where our KPI really kind of come into hand is understanding where we are and where we want to go. And I think I talked a little bit earlier too about maybe adding some more things to our scorecard. How do we become a better partner for you guys, and what more can we track to help support and drive those additional things? So I think when it comes down to making decisions on award lanes and things like that, it certainly is going to come back to who's the better partner in some aspect, because it's not just about the on time, it's not just about who's got the most assets, it's not just about rate all the time. So it really comes down to making the right decisions. I know sitting in on some of those conversations in terms of when we are going through the awards, it's not just purely metrics, and it really comes down to that partnership that we talked about here.
Kudos to you guys too on looking at a carrier scorecard and using it not only as like a punitive measure, but like how do we collaboratively get better and make sure that the overall service that we're providing you and you're providing your customers is continuing to improve.
Yep. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, another question here.
Kind of building off of a question that was asked over here, how do we get more business? Is there a spot board that's available and if there is, how do I get on it? If there isn't, is there any purpose or any possibility of putting one together?
I think there's more in the works. I think if we can fling a microphone over to Chris over there, I'm sure he's got some ideas. I think it's a great question, and like Mike led up on the meeting earlier, we are entering into that brokerage aspect of things. We are looking at how we can integrate and be more reactive to other freight opportunities that are out there, and I think that's something that we've been discussing. So that's probably going to be in the works here.
Yeah. Here, hold on, Chris. I'll bring this over to you.
I told you to fling it.
I'm not paying for that.
I have a blast email list I do use. We also have some capabilities in MercuryGate that I've talked to Lauren about that we can utilize. So there's more to come on that for sure.
We'll make sure that Chris is around so you guys can all talk to him. I think that's the second time I told everybody to go talk to Chris after this. All right, we got one more question here.
What would you say is the most important KPI for U.S. Cold?
That's a really good question. It is. I mean, we focus so much on our service metrics because I know a lot of times with our customers, they're harping on that, and if we fall below a certain number, we're getting questions. And so to me, in my opinion, that's, to me right now in this market, it's number one. I don't know if Marc, if you had any other.
Yeah, I mean, thanks for jumping in because I had to really think about it. I mean, there's so many that we're tracking, but I think that on-time performance really kind of drives our customers. And that's the questions that when we get on calls every week, every other week with all of our customers here, it's the primary thing. They're looking at individual lanes, they're looking at consignees and saying, hey, what's going on with the service here? And that's very important to them. So we want to make sure that we're setting our customers up to the best opportunities, and really that comes down straight from you guys, straight down to the actual driver at the door. So it really does make a big difference.
Okay, thanks for that. Another question. Do you know what percentage of drivers are actually using Vector?
Using Vector, I don't have that information, and I know that it's like I said, it's still in the rollout phases. I feel like there's opportunity at I think 4 warehouses right now, 3 warehouses right now that are actually using it live. But like I said, they don't have. I think only one has the welcome center with the ability to use it the right way. So I think that's, like I said, more of that's coming. I know Bethlehem's coming online by the end of the year, and I think there's a couple others, early next year that we'll see that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Hebron's coming online, and they have the welcome center. Yeah. So then we really can benchmark how much people are using it there versus the sites that don't necessarily have the correct setup.
Correct, and the other piece that we will say with that is that once we go live with the online appointment scheduler, that's a little bit farther down the road for us. You'll really see the push for Vector to be able to go with the appointment scheduling and then link that in with the check-in process.
For sure.
One of the questions that came up earlier is how do we give feedback, or how do the carriers give feedback to US Cold? And I just wanted to weigh in a little bit on that. And every year, right before this meeting, so yesterday, we hold a carrier advisory board. We've had a few long-standing partners that come to that, but we're always looking for more people that would want to come to that. We kind of have a sampling of large carriers, mid-sized carriers, small carriers, and in the brokerage arena. And we talk about a lot of the things that we're discussing today. What can we do better? One of the things that came out of that meeting that we really do champion is that those happy or not terminals that we put in all of our facilities. So those are live in every one of our facilities right now. And the GMs and the operations team can really talk on that they take that feedback seriously. It's a lot better than going out to Google and the only person that puts a review out there is the guy that just waited 18 hours and he's pissed off all night. This is giving real time that if they had a great experience, it's just a couple buttons. So we do get a good amount of information that really spits out from that down to the hour of when our happy index goes down. We know that between 4 and 6, those drivers want dinner, and if they're held up there during our shift change, that's an issue. So we're able to see a lot of that, but then the feedback that our general managers get, they do reach out after that information.
And we do share that with our leadership, so it's not just that the general manager's aware of it, everybody's aware of it. So I think also they're looking at it because our executives are looking at it as well.
It's much more valuable than just in an airplane or an airport bathroom. They work a lot. They give you a lot of information. Any other questions, maybe from this side of the room? Yeah.
Kind of a question for both. As a carrier, we're getting a lot of EDI tenders, and they're all coming as drive-in loads with notes for the temperature. Is that something that just I'm experiencing, or is that kind of across the board? And how I can fix it. If it is me, then I guess talk to my TMS, but just wanted to see if anybody else is experiencing the same thing.
I haven't had that with US Cold, but I've had that with a few other carriers. But it was a setting, the way it's coming across EDI, and it had to be fixed it was fixed on our side.
Awesome. I'll look into it. Thank you.
Cool. Anything else from this side? No? Oh, here you go, Josh.
As you go through the RFP process, what value do you put on carriers that can provide drop trailers versus live loading?
Yeah, I think the drop trailers, especially, Mike mentioned that all of our operations are headed towards some level of automation. Especially in our automated sites, the drop trailers are key. It becomes paramount for our guys to have the ability to be able to see out, be able to pull those trailers in the doors, get them preloaded, and get things going. And I know in some of these locations we're picking almost 12 to 18 hours out in advance to make sure that we're meeting the needs. So it does come into those conversations, especially in lanes. I know I could speak from the southeast with McDonough and Lake City. It's been one of those things where we prioritized carriers with the ability to drop trailers, just because we know that we need the ability to turn those things quickly.
Yeah, and just echoing what Marc said, also on the flip side, it helps our warehouse plan their labor. So if you have that type of capability, just in my eyes, we got a lot out west, so definitely puts you ahead of the line.
This is for Bryan and Chris. On that same question, what are the challenges as a carrier do you see with us wanting more drop trailers?
Well, I think there's a cost involved in it. Obviously, more equipment is more expensive. From a driver standpoint, the drop trailer is wonderful because, especially using Vector, it's a 45-minute deal from start to finish. So.
Yeah, I guess I can look at the bad, but the good outweighs the bad. So, the drop trailers I'm so down with because the drivers, they start getting cranky when they're sitting, they start getting cranky when they're waiting, and it's beneficial for everybody.
Absolutely. Do you see anybody with drop trailers manage that differently than we do? Do they give you a drop dead time to come pick it up, or are they preloading it too early? Things like that. Just any feedback that maybe we can do better with the scheduling on that.
I mean, I have a lot of drop trailers throughout California, but they kind of just let me know. They're not moving as much as you guys are though, so that's probably, they got a lot less to be moving. They can focus on that one trailer, get it loaded, give me the trailer number, but yeah, I don't really have any input.
Kind of to piggyback off of what Marc said, it is nice because we've seen some of our drop trailers loaded maybe 12 to 18 hours in advance, and at that point, if we realize that they're loaded, we can let the driver know that they're ready to go, and you know, they can pick them up accordingly. So.
Great. Any more audience questions?
How do we know if that trailer has been loaded? If you have a drop trailer there and it's been loaded 18 hours, it's burning a lot of reefer fuel, and there's a lot of problems that could, you know, come from the fact that there's a trailer sitting in a yard running for 18 hours with no one really watching it. How do we know that?
Yeah, I think that's a little bit of an issue. Luckily for us, we're a small enough fleet where we keep a pretty close eye on our satellite tracking. And you can see off the temperature graph pretty clearly when the doors were closed and when the unit comes down to temperature and is maintaining that temperature.
We have all that too, but it brings up a good point because we deal with another drop trailer thing. And when our trailers are loaded, they have kind of a platform like Mercury Gate, and that trailer gets loaded onto there showing the trailer number and it's loaded. So that's a good idea of how we could make it better. I don't know if there's a way to put the trailer number on Mercury Gate, and then once we see that trailer number, we know it's loaded, but that's a really good idea.
Yeah. And if I can, I want to defend our warehouse brethren. I'm saying that it's being picked that far in advance. It may not be being loaded that early. So you know, there may be times where that does happen where they need to get that far ahead. But I do know that you know, that we shouldn't be loading trailers that early in that case, that situation.
That sounds like something we should talk with Vector about a notification.
Agreed,
That would be a good communication channel.
For the U.S. cold side, regarding the drops, have you had any difficulty with any carriers kind of refusing to sign those agreements? Some of them, you know, I think tend to scare some carriers in the sense that where you do, some of the ones I've seen, and I don't know if it's for every location, but where, you know, not only is there a fee for every touch by your spotting service, but there's also really no liability. I mean, these agreements kind of say that, you know, they're not responsible in any way for any damages that would occur, those spotters, and it kind of comes back on the company. Have you experienced problems with carriers maybe not wanting to drop for that reason?
Yes, I'll take this one. Yeah, we've had a couple carriers actually reach out. The liability, the amount of insurance that they have to that they need to carry. So I know they've been hesitant to sign some of those drop agreements just because of that. So we've had a couple others that actually, you know, it worked out for them. They were able to lower that threshold. But yeah, we've seen that quite a few times, especially out west with some of our carrier partners. But just depending on how many you want to drop. Some just want to drop, especially like one trailer. Others want to drop, you know, 10, 15 trailers.
Sure, there might be certainly those advantages. Have you considered along those lines maybe having your own spotters rather than kind of farming that out, and then, you know, we can kind of talk about those, you know, same liability concerns that, you know, we would have between our companies rather than, you know, an independent who could damage equipment and not be responsible?
Yeah, I'll take that too. So I know in Bethlehem, we've had conversations with the general manager there about potentially doing a spotting service and doing that in-house and bringing that inside and not working with a spotting service. So that would certainly have some impacts there as well. It's something we're talking about. I don't know where we're going to go with it just yet, but it's certainly something that we are. And I think the other side too, I'll mention this, you know, I understand that there may be people in this room that don't want to sign that agreement and don't have the ability or the capability to dropping trailers, and that doesn't make you a bad partner in my eyes. I mean, all it does is go back to what I said earlier about understanding the capabilities of each one of you guys in the room, right? So, that's where, having those conversations with the carrier engagement guys, understanding where your challenges are and what things are we can do differently to maybe work better together, can certainly help out in those situations. So it's certainly, that's where I think we have the best advantages to kind of continue the partnership and grow, even when there are things that might not be something that's capable for a person.
And also, I'm the final signature on those drop trailers, at least for the buildings that we have. So I don't want to say it's 100% negotiable, but we can have a conversation about it. There's definitely, we start just like any other company at this end of the spectrum, and if we need to meet here, we're okay. So ask the questions, and we'd rather have you be able to drop in service.
For U.S. Cold, is there any chance or possibility that it could possibly be arranged where to give the carriers even more flexibility when they spot trailers, to have some sort of avenue for the drivers to get paperwork after hours? So in other words, if the facility's closed over the weekend, but there's a guard there, can the driver get in and possibly get the paperwork from the guard? And some of the facilities may do that. I'm only speaking from the ones I'm familiar with that do not.
Well, some facilities are 24/7 operation. So again, it goes back to, depends on the facility. Some are open 24/7, others are not. But the ones that are open 24/7, obviously they have that capability of the driver being able to go into the dock office and receive that paperwork. But unfortunately, some of the facilities that close, say from Friday night at midnight, and they don't open back up till Sunday or Saturday evening, that might be more of a challenge.
Yeah, I think too the Welcome Center initiative is also something that's going to help out with that. I think there might only be 3 or 4 locations that don't have the physical space to be able to put a Welcome Center in. So and what we're doing with those is we're actually moving the employees that are doing the dispatch or the shipping and receiving functionality out to the yard, so they'll be coordinating and communicating from there. So any of that paperwork would be able to be received at the Welcome Center, as opposed to being part of a process there. So that even in situations, I think that if a site's closed, there might be opportunities there, with the guard services still servicing for drop trailers to be able to handle those paperwork. So we'll see.
Thank you guys so much for asking questions. I think this was great. Thank you guys for participating. I think we learned a ton, and we really appreciate just getting a better understanding of the partnerships and what things that we can do to be a better partner for you guys, and then some tips on how you can be a better partner to United States Cold Storage. So in summary, thank you. I appreciate it, and stay cool. All right.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you guys. Yeah. Thank you.